I'm Hudson Henry, and I'm really excited to showcase just how integral ON1 Photo has become in my workflow, and also give you kind of an example of how I use it on a day-to-day basis. So I tend to bring all my photos now into Browse and use the fast preview. When I've been out in the field shooting a whole ton of photos, I'll run through fast preview, get rid of the culls, get rid of the immediate deletes, things that I don't even want to bring into Lightroom where I do my digital asset management and my raw editing, things I don't even want to take the time to build previews for. So in effect, Browse has become the sort of first place I go when I bring photos into the computer. Once I get my images into Lightroom, I build previews, I do my basic develop edits, my just basic raw develops. I think about it kind of like film processing as opposed to printing in the old days where I do my final edits. In my final edits, I use effects. It's just so much easier and so much quicker to get the look that I want. I'm going to use an example here from a trip I did in 2013. I recently had a client ask me for some images from that trip. It was a documentary film that I worked filming and also did the still photography for, about the first African American team to climb Denali. And so we actually climbed the mountain together. And this client really liked this image right here of my friend Adina at our high camp at 17,000 feet with the US Forest Service helicopter kind of hovering over the tent. But they had a problem. They needed it to be portrait. They didn't want it portrait, they needed it to be landscape. So I remembered shooting both, and I went delving back into my old folder from 2013, and sure enough, I have this raw file of Adina sitting there, and I want to quickly just put some finishing touches on it for the client. I've already gone through and done my raw edits. I've tweaked contrast to highlight shadows, whites and blacks a little bit, kind of gotten the base image developed the way that I want. I'm going to go ahead and control click on the Mac, or you could right click on PC. I'm going to choose edit in, and I want to go into effects. And this is going to open up a dialog box. I really want it to be edited in this color space ProPhoto RGB because this is a big raw D810 file and it's got a lot of tones and dynamic range and color, and I don't want to lose any in the editing process. So it's kind of a complex reason, but I choose ProPhoto RGB. I hit edit. I'm choosing a Photoshop document, a PSD document, because I want to have it a layered document that I can go back and re-edit, and that ON1 can build its layers and masks as a smart photo. And once Lightroom builds this PSD file to edit, ON1 Photo is going to open it and ask me whether I want it to be a smart photo or a normal photo. Smart photo is the way that I'm going to be able to come back and re-edit. It's going to save all the layers, save all the masks, save everything that I'm working on. And here we are in Effects 10, and I really love the new interface. I can really just stay over here in the right panel and have a lot more screen to view my image. And instead of having to click to add a filter and then run around looking for which filter I want, as I did in the past, I can just hit add filter. And I know that with any landscape image, the first thing that I run for is dynamic contrast. I just love the way that dynamic contrast pops the mid-tone contrast and adds punch to a scene. And here I'm starting with the natural preset. That's sort of my default in general. And I like to add a little bit of small detail contrast here because the snow that's flying in the air is a really important part of this scene. And I'm noticing here that as I add this contrast, a little bit of sensor dust is popping out here, which I'll probably fix back in Lightroom when I'm all done with this. I can also really target where the dynamic contrast is going. One of the things I love about this filter, I can choose to hit the medium details, way more than I would want there, but some people might like that. Large details, small. I think I probably want something right in here. I really want to pop those small details a little bit. And I can always preview how it looked before and after. Wow, that's a huge difference. And then I want to click and add another filter to my stack. But wait, sorry. I want to go back, and this is one of the great things with ON1. I want to go back and re-edit this layer a little bit and just take that contrast out of Adina's face because I don't really like what dynamic contrast does to skin. It kind of makes it look crunchy. You never really want to add contrast to a portrait photo. And in this case, her face is a small part of the scene, but it's really an important part. So I'm just masking it out here, and you can see this little black dot here on the mask showing the effect that I'm painting out. And the neat thing with the smart photo is I could always go back and change that. So then I am going to add another filter here, and I want it to be a color enhancing filter. And I'm going to pop in here, and I really want to make the tint and all the yellow in this image pop. So I'm going to go into Fall Enhancer, which really hits reds and yellows. And it's a little more than I want, but here within the filter, I can choose to just reduce its opacity on the stack. And somewhere in here, I really like how that's kind of punching the color. That's perfect. I'm going to add one more filter for the sky, and I think we're probably just about there. So I'm going to do another color enhancing filter, and I'm going to choose instead the preset Sky Enhancer. Boom. And that's, again, maybe a little more than I wanted, so I'll back off some. But look at that. In just a few simple clicks, I've really added the punch, the dynamism to this photo that I want in my images, that I want to hand off to the client. So I'm going to click apply. ON1 is going to bake these changes into this PSD file, this Photoshop document file, save it as a smart photo so that I can come back and re-edit it, and it will round trip it right back into Lightroom for me once it's done saving. And not only does it bring it back into Lightroom for me, but it stacks it alongside the original RAW file. I love the way that Lightroom plays with ON1 Photo. They just are really simpatico. It's a great thing to work with. So there you have it. That's how ON1 Photo has become really the front end and the back end of my workflow. I'm in it all the time. If you have any questions about buying or using ON1 Photo or really any other kind of editing issue, feel free to hit me up anytime on my social or on my email. The links are really easy right here on my website, hudsonhenry.com. You can find a link from there to ON1 on my blog. Their website is phenomenal. Definitely, if you haven't used ON1 Photo, it's worth your time to check out. There are free trials. ON1 Photo has a bunch of great things going for it. It's super intuitive, it's highly professional grade, and it's fun to use. I really hope you'll check it out.